Fred, this computer is acting up again. I need for you to fix it.
How many times this year am I going to fix this computer? Let's just buy you a new computer.
No, we don't have the money to buy a new computer.
Well then, if I'm going to fix it, I need to back it up. I need to buy another hard drive so I can copy things
that's
off.
Money. Okay, but how long would that take?
2 days, 3 days at the most.
I don't have time to be without my computer for 2 to 3 days.
Well, what am I supposed to do? You keep on after me about fixing your computer. I offer you solutions, and when I give them to you, they're not good enough.
I know, but I don't like any of the solutions.
Here we go again. Welcome to Marriage Matters Monday. This scenario that you just saw was a real incident that happened between Elizabeth and I several years ago.
Yeah, my computer really was having issues, and it really did need to be replaced, and I really didn't like any of the solutions that Fred was providing me.
And Elizabeth came back to me several times over several years with this issue that only got worse as time went along, because we know that our computers are complex devices and they do need maintenance, but hers was just old and legitimately needed to be replaced.
So ultimately this was causing us a repeat crazy cycle. You heard Fred there at the very end say, "Here we go again," really signaling that, you know what, we've been here before. And that's probably happened to you and your spouse, where you kind of get into the same argument and you start asking yourself, how did we get back here?
And one other thing to note, in the midst of the argument, Elizabeth is asking me for solutions. I'm a little bit condescending in my responses. She's cutting me off, and it keeps on escalating higher and higher and higher, to the point that really I didn't even want to look at her computer, and I just wanted to ignore it because, hey, mine still worked. She knows what she needs to do, so I'm not going to say anything until she says something, and I know exactly how it's going to go down. And it did, over and over again.
Yes. And so ultimately, I had to come to the place where I was willing to make a change, whether it was to be inconvenienced or to have to invest money to actually make it happen. But what we really want to talk about today is this challenge that we married couples have on revisiting the same crazy cycle over and over again, because we really choose to not fully deal with it.
If you're like we were and still are, there are many things that are just touch points, and we get onto it and we never get off of that. We just kind of bury it under the rug or walk away until later. So what I want to share with you this week is, how do we break the cycle? How do we get off that script so that we can move forward and move beyond these things?
Yeah, and actually have productivity, in our marriage. So what we're introducing today is that whoever between the husband and the wife sees himself or herself as more mature should make the first move. And when we say make the first move, what we mean is make the first move in breaking the cycle so that you can get off of that old script that keeps you feeling like you're going crazy.
And so when it comes to that maturity, it's not a matter of I'm older so I'm more mature or I'm more experienced so I'm more mature. What it comes down to is, do you recognize that you are in the argument? In the book of James in the Bible, it states, "Who among you is wise? Let him show that through the gentleness of deeds." So when you're in that argument and you realize that you're on the crazy cycle, or even just the thought of "here we go again" comes into your mind, that's your cue that you are there again, and that also should be your cue that it's time to get off.
So what that would sound like for me, if I have that realization, man, we need to get off this crazy cycle, is, hey, did I just do or say something disrespectful, because that felt unloving?
And then for the guys, another variation where you can say that is, you know what, that felt very disrespectful, and I know you wouldn't willfully want to be disrespectful to me. Can you please repeat that so that I can understand?
So something along those lines that helps to break through the craziness and to help give you a quick exit off of that crazy cycle. So And here's the key, that in each situation, each one of us could be mature in different situations, in that we each have different triggers or touch points, as I call them. For me, a touch point or a trigger is finances. For Fred, a touch point or a trigger would be just our parenting and what's happening with our boys. And so we each are going to have different things that affect us differently. And so know that the person who makes the first move could change in any given argument.
And I assure you, the first time you break this out in the heat of the moment, it's going to be the most awkward and ridiculous thing that you have ever done. And sometimes that might be the key difference in getting off the crazy cycle or spinning up to a whole nother
because
level.
the awkwardness of it sometimes will just make you laugh, because you realize what's happening and you're just thankful, because no one wants to feel crazy like that. So one thing I would encourage you, it's worth doing poorly as you learn to do it well. And what I'm saying is the verbiage, how you get yourself off the crazy cycle, it's worth the awkwardness as you learn to get yourself off the crazy cycle.
So your challenge this week is to really think about the next time you're in an argument, here we go again, and to break out of that. One thing I know is that when we get into arguments, lots of times it's twisted, but we get very comfortable in our arguments. And the more we hang out in that rut, the deeper it gets, and the more effort we have to put in to break out of that.
That's so true.
So as you're going through this week, identify that moment and choose to get off that crazy cycle. Leave your comments below, and we look forward to seeing you back here next week for Marriage Matters Monday.
Here we go again on our own. Sorry.